The popularity of MMOs, or massive multiplayer online games, has been growing over the years, to the point that some newer games are not only single-player, but multiplayer as well. But where did they come from, and how have they evolved over the years? So let's delve into the world of MMOs. We'll learn all about how these things began, and where they're headed in the future. So join me, if you will, as we dive into the virtual worlds that have been a major part of gaming history. I'm Professor Richero, and this is the history of massive multiplayer online games. Maze War introduced the first virtual world in 1974. The basic premise of the game was that each player ran around a maze in first-person view shooting at each other. The connection was done with a serial cable, but when one creator attended MIT in 1974, Maze War soon enhanced to connect players via the ARPANET, which at the time was the forerunner for the Internet. Adventure, created in 1975 by Will Cawthor on a DEC PDP-10 computer, was the first widely played adventure game in all times. Adventure was mainly played in old D&D style with a computer-controlled dungeon master. Multi-user dungeons, or MUDs, were first created by Roy Trueshaw and Essex UK, when he started working on a multi-user adventure game on a DP-10 using Macro as the programming language. However, MUDs didn't really gain popularity in the US until the 1980s when affordable home PCs were out that used a 300 to 240 baud modems. In 1987, Nihon Falcom's Yoshi Kira created Dragon Slayer, an action role-playing game. He had the idea to create an RPG that allowed the player to have freedom in the game. So, for example, even though it was a sword and sorcery theme, the player could just go about his character's life as a simple baker. Avalon was the one that set the example for new MUDs to come. One of those was one I played back in the day called Shattered Kingdoms. Yes, they didn't have the top-of-the-line graphics. Hell, some of them were just plain text and ASCII for graphics, but your imagination was your only limitation. Meanwhile, as MUDs were taking off, another system was created to create multiplayer games called Play-Doh. Play-Doh was an educational system with a graphical interface, which when Maze Wars was starting out on the Play-Doh system, which is Spasm, a multi-user space battle game that could only handle 32 users at a time, and Talkomatic, a multi-user chat system. In 1985, Atlas of Kissimmee, a roguelike game created by Kelson Finn and John Taylor, and was found on the CompuServe online service, costed $12 an hour to play. This was the first real commercial MMORPG. Soon others started to pop up, like Habitat, created by Lucasfilms and was soon developed by Lucasfilms Games. Had its initial beta on Quantum Link, an ISP that was created specifically for the Commodore 64. However, in 1988, Habitat servers were shut down, but a similar scaled-down version of the game was created called Club Carby in January 1989. Following Club Carby, another one spawned called Neverwinter Nights. Now, this is not to be confused by the game by the same name by BioWare, and this was the first graphical MMORPG and was made available on AOL for about $6 an hour. During the 1990s, the internet was limited to the NFS.net and gave us Legends of Future Past, Neverwinter Nights, Gemstone 3, Dragon's Gate. However, they all relied on CompuServe AOL and Genie for distribution. As the restrictions on MFS.net started to relax, which allowed traditional game companies to release their games on the internet, most cases was CompuServe, with Legends of Future Past, which then became notable for having actual game masters hold online events. Now the term MMORPG wasn't officially coined until 1997 by the creator of one of the most famous old-school RPGs of all time, Ultima Online. Now, The Realm Online was another MMORPG released by the same time by Sierra Online. The Realm featured 2D graphics, both in and out of combat, as well as having simple turn-based combat. Another huge feature at the time was the amount of character customization. Oddly enough, this one is still active. Meanwhile, Korea had Nexus: The Kingdom of the Winds, which was released in beta in Korea, which can be noted as one of the first MMORPGs ever made. And yes, this one is still active with over 1,000 subscribers. By the start of the 2000s, game companies started to capitalize on the new market, and soon 3 new MMORPGs came about. These were The Dark Age of Camelot, Anarchy Online, and Ultima Online 2. Anarchy Online was released in 2001 amid vast technical issues, mostly due to its inability to handle a huge amount of player base. Dark Age of Camelot, however, ran very smoothly and introduced more features like Realm vs. Realm, and it soon passed Ultima Online in popularity and soon became a rival to another massive MMORPG called RuneScape. RuneScape, also created in 2001, and also saw MMORPGs move from the PC market to the home console market, and then, soon released, was Phantasy Star Online. The following year, in 2002, the sprite-based Ragnarok Online by Korean developer Gravity Corp. However, the free-to-play MMORPG did start to come about at the same time with MapleStory. These made money by selling in-game enhancements and soon went on to become a major player in the free-to-play MMORPG genre. Then, Earth and Beyond, a sci-fi spaceship based in MMORPG by Westwood Studios, ran for 2 years until Westwood soon got owned by Electronic Arts. And then it was shut down. MMORPGs soon started to make their way from the PCs to the consoles with Final Fantasy XI, which allowed cross-platform play. Ubisoft released Shadowbane. What made this one a bit different was that it had no quests at all, and only relied on player warfare as well as a player-built and run cities and a player-based government system. On March of 2003, Sierra Online released their spin-off to the hugely successful EverQuest, calling it EverQuest Online Adventures. It had a long 9-year run until it was shut down on March 29th of 2012. That same year, EVE Online was created, which was another spaceship MMORPG. What set this one apart was the way each solar system in the game both ran on a single server and as a single coherent world. Disney got their hands on the MMORPG genre with Toontown, an MMO where players took on the role of cartoon characters from the movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit. The basic plot of this game was that Toontown was in danger of being taken over by evil business robots called Cogs, and that to level up your character, you had to play mini-games. However, Disney soon closed it down to focus on another family MMO and a very well-known one called Club Penguin, which oddly enough people are still playing it on smaller community servers since the main servers were shut down. As the state of MMOs soon started to grow, Sony decided to create a sequel to their first MMO success, EverQuest, with EverQuest 2. However, at the same time, Blizzard had created one of the most successful MMOs to date, World of Warcraft. Sony, in order to not compete against itself, decided to have a flat monthly rate for people to play. 3 of their well-known MMOs, EverQuest 1, EverQuest 2, and Star Wars Galaxies. EverQuest was a massive success for Sony, however it was soon dwarfed by Blizzard's World of Warcraft. In 2005, the MMO based off the hit movie Matrix was soon shut down by Sony, who also shut down another one. On April 25th, 2005, a little-known company called ArenaNet, a subsidiary of NCSoft, created another MMO called Guild Wars. In 2010, Pocket League was created and was noted as the first cross-platform MMO, which allowed players to play on different consoles. However, no new content was added since its player base was dwindling due to the fact that developers wanted to work on newer launch titles. Now there are 5 big contenders in the MMORPG scene, and they are Black Desert Mobile, Final Fantasy XIV, The Elder Scrolls Online, World of Warcraft of course, and Guild Wars 2. There are a few trends that most MMORPGs use to keep players in the game, and here's a list of them. Instant dungeons. These are often called instances, which are areas that are made for specific people or groups, which keep those in the instance separated from the rest of the gaming area. These are made to reduce competition as well as the amount of information moved to and from the server, thus reducing game lag. The Realms Online was the first MMO to use a very rudimentary version of this, but it was furthered by Anarchy Online, which took instant dungeons to a whole new level, making them a key element in the gameplay. Some other MMOs that use this are World of Warcraft, EverQuest, EverQuest 2, and Guild Wars. Most games based around cartoons and movies have always used licensed IPs, and that also includes MMOs. For example, in 2007, Lord of the Rings Online used IPs from J.R.R. Tolkien's book of the same name, or The Matrix Online, which used IPs from the Matrix movies. Warhammer Online Age of Reckoning used IPs from the popular tabletop game. Most of the time when you think of MMOs, you think of those that are strictly PC-based. However, before developers started to make MMOs that work cross-platform, the whole concept of console-based ones was just a pipe dream until Phantasy Star Online came on the scene, which was for the Sega Dreamcast. Now at this time, console-based MMOs were strictly in Japan until Final Fantasy XI and EverQuest Adventures came out for the PS2, which were the first console-based MMOs in the States. When Flash and HTML5 were around, developers started creating MMORPGs that were strictly browser-based, where all you had to do was play them with a browser and access to the internet. The latest trend in MMOs is the one that uses your own phone, and the use of AR, or augmented reality, to bring the game into the real world. This was made big by Ingress and then Pokemon Go. Today, most of the MMOs you can find all use the free-to-play method, which means that there's no amount needed to get going. However, the developers do need a way to keep the game going, and that requires some money. And that's where loot boxes come into play. Loot boxes are items that players pay real-world money to get in-game items. Now, in recent years, loot boxes have been a major negative concept in gaming. Some people consider them a form of gambling, and that developers are using them to skirt around any laws regarding gambling and children. And the most loot boxes don't really have any useful items at all in them, which caused some countries to make laws regarding use of them as a way to monetize the game. Knowing most anything a lot of people like, there are some aspects of it that some people don't like, and MMOs are no exception to this. I talked about loot boxes or loot crates, which leads me to the idea of an economic system within the game itself. Now yes, you can use real-world cash to get in-game items. However, there's the issue that you can sell those items to other players. But there's also the fact that the system also includes companies that sell items to players in stores for the games themselves. Most notably of these, of course, is Fortnite with V-Bucks, Roblox with Robux, and also if you're a WoW player, you can also find WoW Gold as well. Now some people think these ruin the economic system within the game itself. One example was a court case involving IGE, which is the company that created WoW Gold, and a player. The player felt that WoW Gold interfered with the way the game's economic system is supposed to be used. Another issue with this is the legality of these. One of the reasons for this concern is the concept of gold farmers, which are people who play MMOs just to get in-game currency and then turn around and sell it for real-world money. They are often employed by game sweatshops. Most MMOs frown upon this practice, but some games actually like the idea. Two of them are Second Life and Entropia Online, and those that have done this have made a killing using this idea for those games. However, where there's a way to gain money in MMOs, there are those that would try to cheat the system to make it easier for them, with the use of bots, and the use of unauthorized auction sites even commit real crimes to get it as well. My thoughts on the idea of selling in-game currency for real-world cash kind of kills the idea of free-to-play. So there you have a short history of massive multiplayer online RPG games. I know there's plenty more I could talk about, but that's another topic. If you're wondering if I play any myself, well, I do play a few. Mostly right now you can find me on Path of Exile. Do you play any yourself? If so, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear what you play. With that, I am Professor Retro, reminding you to hit that like button, smash the subscribe button, and ring that bell so you get the heads up on my next video. With that, peace out and stay frosty.